What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the FTN Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I am your host, Vlad Sedler, and I am here today with the best co-host Fab Money can buy. Bat flip crazy, Toby G. What's going on, Toby?
Nothing much, Vlad. It's wonderful to be here in the great state of Arizona with such wonderful people out here in the audience doing a live podcast with you. I did learn earlier in the conference, though, that you shouldn't spend a lot of your fab in one bid. So I think you've actually erred strategically in ponying up too much for me.
Yeah. Unfortunately, overbid a little bit for the services of Mr. Toby G. But here we are. We are live in front of a studio audience in Mesa, Arizona, at the Sheraton. For those of you that are tuning in or that might be listening later, as most of you know or have listened before, this is an NFBC-centric podcast. We just had a wonderful season conclude. Of course, the Texas Rangers, World Series champions, the domination of the Braves during the course of the World Series. So many guys within the first round of year in value coming from the Braves. You got the Betts-Freeman combo also within the top first round there, atop the Dodgers lineup. Spencer Strider lapping the field in strikeouts. I think 40 or 45 strikeouts more than the second and third guys there. And then, of course, the most magical season in fantasy of all time by, of course, Mr. Ronald Acuna. And we don't have to do show of hands, but those of you that maybe have done more than one draft over the course of the season and earned that number one pick more than one time, maybe have diversified and thought, maybe I'll go with a Trey Turner, for this one time. So it's happened.
Yeah, I would not recommend, if you were to go back in time, drafting Trey Turner at the 1-1.
So this season we had a great year by Brian Slack, who was the main event champion this year, had a fantastic team, went down to the finish line in the final week. And then in the online championship, the 12-team format, the winner there was Drew Forte. Drew, basically, I think around July was just, dominating. So he pretty much, kind of took things down from that point on.
I believe he destroyed both of our dreams, Vlad. I think we were both pretty high up in the overall there for a little while. And Drew was very selfish and did not allow us to go past him.
Yeah, and I think those of you that saw Rob McCabe's Fab Efficiency presentation on Thursday, he broke down Drew's team and just showed those perfect bids in the 20 to 40 range. All the guys, like Tanner Scott and CJ Abrams, all the guys that he picked up. The term that I hate to use, league winners, that they use in football. There were sort of a few of those here on his team. He did have to make one splash during the course of the season. Ironically, that was Chris Sale. He spent $250 on Chris Sale. That didn't work out. Nevertheless, he didn't need him. So great season. So congrats to Brian and Drew. Toby and I have a lot of fun things planned for us today. We're going to just talk about some lessons that we've learned from this past season, how we can apply it to 2024. And at the end of this, for the second half, we have a very special thing. I'm not going to tell you the four guests that we have, but they're four of the biggest names in fantasy baseball, and they are all going to be competing against one another in a trivia contest.
I'm very excited for that part of it. I would just skip this initial part, and just go right to the trivia.
Yeah. And I think some people know that that's starting, so they'll be coming in later. So first thing I want to talk about are personal lessons or just things that we've learned from the 2023 fantasy baseball season. And I guess I'll start. I mean, for me, the one thing I've learned is, the main thing I've learned is the same lesson that I learn seems to be every single year. It's myself. It's my own issues with self-discipline, with a certain type of profiles of pitchers or hitters or whatever it is. And it's the injured guy or just the player that I'm really attached to that maybe the team doesn't care for as much. For me, Tyler O'Neill this past season, just heavily invested in Tyler O'Neill. For every Josh Lowe that I got in the 30th round, I spent a seventh rounder on a Tyler O'Neill. But then a specific case happened in my live main event. And of course, the live main events, it's a little bit of a different animal. You've got 7 drafts going at the same time and names being shouted out. And it's, you really kind of have to contain yourself. And I remember in that league, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to just play it safe. I'm not going to make any, kind of go off the grain. But in the 5th round, I remember, and this is after I started with Corbin Burns. Didn't work out all that well, obviously. It was okay in the second half, of course, but not a first rounder. Rounds 2, 3, 4, I picked up Austin Riley, Francisco Lindor, who was a first round value, and Corey Seager, of course. It was phenomenal. Hitting was never a problem. But in the 5th round, a little something dropped. I was too attached to looking at like live main event ADP, and I noticed Joe Musgrove had fallen. And it was like, oh, he dropped the weight on his toe. It's only going to be a couple of weeks, and I'll get him back in the lineup. So great. Let me grab Joe Musgrove. At some point, it'll be a solid SP2. 2 rounds later, oh my gosh, Carlos Rodon. Like, I know I shouldn't do it, but hey, if he comes back healthy, it'll be a great 4.5 months. It'll be a fantastic ride. And then when you add a Jeffrey Springs on top of that, who, right process, wrong outcome with his injury, and then you get Matz later, and then you're just kind of chasing your ratios the whole time. So for going into this season, it's something I'm going to be very careful in. All my prep and all my hard work coming down to like one live main event draft or one online draft, I don't want to make those mistakes, that I've been, kind of preparing myself not to make. So I don't know. What you think about that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's always a challenge, like when you add those, the injured starters like you did, is just thinking about like, the chances are that somebody else is going to get injured, and you wrote out like some of the other guys that you had on your team, and just by kind of sheer luck of the draw, the chances are that of your remaining 4 pitchers, at least one is going to be hurt. And so I agree, like, I think it's really important to limit the amount of risk that you're taking, especially early on in those drafts. Yep. Yeah. But you nailed the hitters. You crushed it. I mean, I would have liked to have on those 3 on a few of my teams for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think later on down the line, it was guys like got Yandy, got Josh Lau, Siri, Friedel. All that didn't matter because my ratios were already butchered. Even picking up a Tanner Bybee a month into the season helped the ratios a little bit, but just so much damage in that first month I couldn't catch up. Plus holding 2 stashes, and then on top of that, I think I held Brandon Pfaadt for a couple of months, and we kind of know the roller coaster that went with. What about you, Toby? Kind of a lesson.
Yeah. In terms of lesson learned for me, one of, I think, the key things, so for people who have heard me talk about this before, I apologize in advance, but I like projections. And so when I'm building my drafts, what I like to do is build a team, and I aggregate the projections for each of the categories to make sure that I'm around 80th percentile in all of them, so that I'm building kind of a balanced team as much as possible. I think, number one, if you're at the 80th percentile, right, that's 120 out of 150 points. You're going to win your league, but it also gives you the ability to kind of adapt to changes that happen in any one category. But I think sometimes, I will pass up on players who I may be more confident in how good they are, especially later on in drafts, in kind of pursuit of that 80th percentile, as opposed to maybe understanding and going in and saying, hey, I'm going to take a player that I like more who's better. Maybe I'm going to be a little softer in steals and a little bit better in power, but I just need to go in knowing that in the waiver wire early on, I want to be able to attack those categories. So I think allowing myself like a little bit of grace from my rigid draft strategy to accommodate for going after players that I may be a little bit more confident in. And I think in addition to that, I think one thing that, like one area that I've struggled in a lot is batting average. Over the last 2-3 years, that's been a real challenge for me. And I think one of the things that I have done, or that I can do, and that others could do if they wanted to too, is like I'm always aiming for 80th percentile. But when you look every year at the end of the of leagues, and you look at your fabbed categories, right, batting average is always super low. It's really difficult to fab a high batting average. And so when you're streaming, you're generally going after more volume than you are in ratios, right? Because it's harder to plan on ratios over a small sample like that. So you're really going for those volume categories. And so one of the things is, with that in mind, if I assume that the free agents are going to account for like 15% of my batting average, well, if I start at the 80th percentile, right, with the team that I'm drafting, it's going to bring down my batting average when I incorporate in that 15% of the fab. So what I need to be focused on is more 85th, 90th percentile and batting average, and really focusing in on those ratio categories. And I think it's similar to what you mentioned in terms of like the ratio categories just aren't things that you can't stream ratio categories, right? You can get lucky, and have that stream 2-start starter have a good week, but over the course of a longer season, the chances of being successful in that is a real challenge. So really focusing on that foundation of ratios, both with pitching, but then also the average category in hitting. So that's one of the things I think where that's like a very concrete thing that I'm going to do differently moving forward.
Yeah, and I know it's been also talked about a lot is that base and ratios with starting pitchers. Of course, a lot of that is landing on the right players, like the right starting pitchers, getting off to a good start in that as well. And that's why you've seen over the years in NFBC, and we'll talk about this in a bit, in the main events, how starting pitcher is very heavily pushed up. Like people value that. They don't want to, sort of get in that hole. And then even something that I know Jeff Zimmerman here, who's in the audience, has talked about is like when he's even building his team, you've got your 23 starting spots. He's not looking to like fill up his last fifth outfielder or his last utility before kind of building up. He'll grab his 10th pitcher, right? Your bench pitcher before that. You want to establish that depth. You want to, not have to start chasing streaming pitchers early on, 2 steps going into like the second week of April. So we'll talk about pitchers in a little bit, but stolen bases is obviously, it's, big on the forefront of what has happened with the rule changes this year. I think everyone is familiar with the fact that, they increased greatly. I'm going back to like, 20, basically to 15 years ago, the amount of total stolen bases in the league. Last season, there were 3,500. In the 6 previous seasons, excluding 2020, the sort of average total stolen bases per year were between 2,300 and 2,600. So obviously, a big bump there in 2023. So you needed more to, to be able to get to the 80th percentile to help winning your leagues. But also the steal has been devalued a little bit in that realm. And so the new benchmark, for example, for the 80th percentile for 15 teamers, it used to be 120, 130 stolen bases. Like if you draw up your starting lineup, you would kind of count up, approximately that's what you're looking to target. Not a hard and fast rule, of course. This past season, the 80th percentile for stolen bases was 186. So we need to think about, first of all, is that going to regress at all? Is it going to be, negatively, it's going to, be in the 3,000s? Like what is, I feel like with the percentile targets, it's not just about using what was last year's percentile, but how do we feel things might adjust, right? Like, this point last season, when we were looking to set our our percentile targets, we didn't really just take 2022, or at least we shouldn't have. We should have sort of balanced in what assumptions were made for for the new season, shift changes, things that Derek Hardy talked about earlier today, and so whatever that percentile is, that's something new we have to set. And then the first round is loaded with stolen bases. If you look at that first round, outside I think the 1 or 2 pitchers that are there, all those guys are getting you a bunch of steals. So you kind of know you're starting kind of right off the bat with stolen bases. But like, for example, the rabbit, the one that we're talking about, and I know there's maybe some podcasts out there that's like a word we don't use anymore. I know 2023, not supposed to use the word rabbit, but the Ben Revere, the Malik Smith, the Billy Hamilton, it was really just a Asturi Ruiz, right?
Yeah, he was the one who kind of stood out from this past year. And I think one of the things to just think about, I think, is the overall like offensive environment. I think like not only did steals increase, but home runs increased. You had batting average increase as well, runs and RBI increase. And I think the challenge with the Rabbit profile, as I think a lot of us think about it, is that those are not typically players, at least on teams that have smart managers, where these they tend to be lower OBP guys. They tend to be guys that are further back in the lineup. So you're getting a limited number of plate appearances, probably not getting a very high OBP, so the runs aren't going to be great. not getting a lot of RBI because you don't have the power. So there's all of these ways that they're negatively impacting you while helping you with steals. And so now with the addition of more home runs that are necessary, more runs, more RBI in order to compete, it makes it incredibly challenging to go after that type of profile when you're trying to address steals.
Yeah, and then last season there were 18 hitters that had 30 plus stolen bases, and only 4 of those had less than 10 home runs. So that just kind of furthering the point of less rabbits. One of them, of course, is Story Ruiz. Another one was Nico Horner. Obviously, he had a big season. His ADP right now, just through the first 5 NFBC drafts, is around 60. So right around the end of the 4th round. The other 2 are part-time guys. Jorge Mateo, who had the strong April and then kind of fell off, and then Willie Castro had an incredible season. He was another guy that was just racking up the steals, part-time guy. So, and then what about the no stolen base guy, or like the low stolen base hitters? Like, are these guys we're going to be undervaluing?
Yeah, I think that I think it definitely presents some challenges, right? Like when you think about, you have 14 hitters and you have to get to 186 steals to get that 80th percentile, right? You don't have to do that, right? You can be weak in steals and you can be good somewhere else, and that can be a strategy that you try to employ. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend being super weak in one category, especially if you're playing in a competition that has an overall. So the moment you start adding in players that don't get you home runs, right? So, you mentioned a bunch of guys earlier, actually, like Austin Riley, for instance. Like he might get a couple steals, but when you're looking at, then you have 13 guys to get you 186, and all of a sudden you're increasing the amount that you need in other places. And so I think part of it is making sure that as you go through your draft strategy and your draft plan, like implementing some key highlights. Like you may say, okay, I don't want to take any rabbits. Okay, so you're taking that type of player off of your draft sheet, or you're just not going to go after them, right? There's different ways that you can use players. You could get a rabbit and say, I'm going to have him in for the first 2 months of the season, or I'm going to try to stream steals by going when they have a larger number of plate appearances, or when they're going up against the Angels, for instance, I could probably steal a few bases, probably steal third on the Angels. But so you can go through and kind of knock those guys off, but then you need to be able to identify, if you're going to grab one of those guys earlier on, where are you starting to accumulate those 15 to 25 steals from players, right? You mentioned Nico Horner. He's not going super high. The beauty of Horner is that he's hitting leadoff for the Cubs lineup, right? So he is going to help you in runs. He's going to help you in batting average considerably. He's going to help you in steals. So he's not that same type of profile. So it's just identifying enough of those guys to give you that core of steals where you feel okay or you feel comfortable. And I think one thing that's helpful is to have something like that gives you a valuation of players, so you can compare kind of apples to apples. Because one thing that we often do, and I know I used to do, was like you have this line in your mind of what a player contributes, but it's not anchored to any values. Mm-hmm. So you're like, how do you compare very disparate lines that players may be giving you in a season unless you have a valuation for how much each category is worth? And so that's why I think doing like either, whether it's SGP or Z-scores or whatever it is, having some sort of methodology so that you get that value while you're also kind of making sure you understand in your draft plan like where those guys are and who you need to prioritize.
And I think this season, the conversations are going to start about, there's a group of players, hitters in the second round who are all some of baseball's best hitters, but they don't really steal bases. And how we're going to work with that. So, for example, you've got Yordan Alvarez right now, probably going around the turn, 15, 16. We're talking 15-teamers here. You've got Pete Alonso, who was an easy second-rounder because he had returned first-round value in 2022. You would maybe think, I think Toby thought there was going to be a discount on him this year, third, fourth round maybe. No, he's going in the second round. You've got Rafael Devers, an easy second rounder, usually even sometimes borderline first, second. He's still going in the second round. Matt Olson, Austin Riley, Corey Seager. These are all guys filling the second round. That will change a little bit come main event because you're going to start to have the pitchers moving up into the mix. Like right now, there just aren't a lot of pitchers in the top 30. It's, Strider, Cole, just a couple of guys there. But we're going to start having these discussions about how we build, because you get your big speed guy, whoever it is, Tatis, Carroll, Acuna in that first round, pair him with a big hitter at the expense of an ace pitcher. That's the way I see a lot of people building. And I think anything other than that's going to end up being kind of like the contrarian. So, we'll talk about pitchers in a little bit, but what about the big power, no speed, low average guys like Kyle Schwarber, Max Muncy, Torque, even Brent Rooker? He hit 30 home runs last year. I'm looking at ADP early on, and these guys like Eugenio Suarez is like going in the 24th round, 25th. Like, so anybody that hits a low average but hits a lot of home runs, these guys are way down there. Like, those guys would be super developed. Jose Abreu is a 20th rounder at this moment. How do you feel about those guys? Are we as an industry, as a market, going to just push all those guys down?
I think yes and no. Like, I think with that first category, like, one of the things that most of those guys have, like, I think when you look at that list, there are certain guys that are going to get you batting average, right? And we talked about the importance of boosting those ratios. So I think that because of the landscape of steals, and I think steals are available a little bit more on the waiver wire than they were in the past. Like, I think what I would do is try to figure out, I was hoping that Pete Alonso was going to come at a discount. I'm very disappointed that people are drafting Pete Alonso in the second round right now. But like, Alonso sticks out as a guy that even at his highest, percentile contributions, you're still probably looking at like maybe a 270 hit or something like that. Maybe Riley, maybe Olsen falls into that. I think Olsen probably I think he most definitely had his best season that he's going to have in a while, in probably his career. And so really looking at like guys that are going to contribute at least in batting average in addition to power, so long as you've been able to identify those guys lower on. Like, with those folks that are going later, I think the key is, like, if that is something that the market is discounting, then you want to put together a draft plan that allows you to take those guys later on, right? You can't take 2 or 3 of them, right, because of the batting average sink that you're going to get on that. But I think building early on to accommodate what values you see later on is probably the way to approach that.
All right, we're fired.
I just got some finger snaps,
yeah.
Which I feel really great about. Thank you.
And we're powering through this because we've got a grand finale. We've got something really special planned that we're about to get to. But our final topic before we do that, before we get to the Battle of the Quants trivia with 4 very special Roto celebrities, is we're going to talk a little bit about starting pitchers. Starting pitchers in the main event, how we should be approaching them, because it seems to be the same pattern every single year. I went back and I looked at just NFBC ADP from around this time. So when things started in October through the end of November. So this time, 2022. During that period of time, the only starting pitcher in the first round was Shohei Ohtani, who also happened to be a hitter. Fast forward to March, when you had main events, you had other, kind of big, important drafts. There were 4 guys in the first round. It was Ohtani, obviously. It was Garrett Cole. It was Corbin Burns. And even Spencer Strider, who I think in some drafts, I think I set one KDS for myself to get Spencer Strider at 11. And this is early in main event season. This is before he really kind of shut up. I'm like, oh, yes, all right, I got a good shot. And then, boom, he goes 10. So, never plan on these things. And then I think he had like a min pick of 2 even. So there's a lot of that. And it's not just in the first round. It transcends kind of throughout. I did the same exercise for October, November ADP versus March ADP last year. For a few other guys, for example, you probably already know this, but like Logan Gilbert's November ADP last year was 115. In Vegas, or in the month of March, it was 98. The duo in Tampa, the good process, bad results, unfortunately, with them both getting hurt. Jeffrey Springs and Drew Rasmussen were going in the 170s. So that's like your 12th, 13th round, in DC's around that time. Springs went up to 104, Rasmussen to 118. Springs had a min pick of 79. I think if he had just stayed healthy, right, probably would have, exceeded that value. And then finally, Reed Detmers. Everyone remembers Reed Detmers. It's been a roller coaster. This time last year, you could get Reed Detmers at, I guess, what now seems like a good price, $227.
About what he's worth, In
March, 133 ADP. He moved up 100 spots, several rounds, with a min of 108. So some crazy stuff, huh? The main event bump.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think that's I think that's something that's going to happen. Again, you mentioned before, I mean, people who are drafting in the NFBC put a premium on that elite starting pitching. And so I think what inevitably happens is those elite starters move up, and then they create a vacuum because there's only so many good starters. And so there's somebody out there who has 0 good starting pitchers. And so you don't want to wait and let other people dictate who you pick. So you move up the next, range of pitchers. And so I feel like there's this tier shift that happens where people are kind of operating in a mindset of scarcity, which is what exists with pitchers, especially now. And I think it'll be really interesting to see just who moves, how they move. I feel like there are even players now that just the way that everybody operates now, we have access to so much information and people are so honed into the skills that pitchers are displaying that I feel like there's some players who are maybe undervalued now that we're definitely going to see move up.
Now, the guys right now, Corbin Burns has an ADP of 30. So at the end of the second round, right around him is Luis Castillo, Zach Wheeler, Kevin Gausman. Some of these guys they're going to be, early second round picks come main event season. So, we'll have to be prepared for that. One thing I wanted to ask you, those that are entering draft champions now or in the couple of months, in the next month, how can we take advantage of those starting pitchers that we've identified? Like, oh man, this is a gem. This guy's 80, picks off where he should be. How do we attack something like that without also, right? Because right now every draft is moving the market. There's only 5, and so there's so much. You get 3 more drafts. With wide variance, it's going to kind of greatly move ADP. We're moving markets right now. Anyone that's entering DC. And so you got to also be careful. And obviously you don't want to take somebody that you've seen through the first 5 drafts that you may value at 150 overall. You don't want to take him at 150 if they're, going at 250 ADP, things like that. So how would you handle something like that?
Well,
guys?
I'm not drafting right now, so I would tell people to wait as long as possible to draft them so that their ADP is as late as possible. Thank you. I'm getting boos now. I got cheers earlier. Just remember. Thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate all of you out there. No, but I think that, I think that this is what's really helpful about, again, I'm a broken record, but this is what's so helpful about being anchored to something, right? That gives you a valuation that identifies where there may be a difference between what your projections or your values for a player are and what the market is. But it's always that dance of like, yeah, how much do I move them up? This is my best pitcher on the board. It says I can get them in 2 rounds. Do I wait a round, right? Do I wait 15 picks to go after them? I think that's always a challenging, conversation to have. You want to build the best team that you possibly can. So I would say, just so everybody cheers me, pick the best pitcher available at that moment in time at whatever ADP feels comfortable to you. Hey, there we go. I will be giving all of my answers now based on the response of the audience. So you guys, please let me know how I should react.
And one last piece of advice. If you are the type that it gets like crazy because you're waiting for somebody to make their pick on the clock, do not enter the 4-hour drafts. Do not enter the 4 DCs. Just do the 2 hours. It's a nice pace. Sometimes you think it's like early in the season. Oh, the 4 hour will be fine. No, it'll drive you crazy. So, do the 2 hours unless you're patient and the 4 hours is your thing. All right, the main event. I wish we had Price is Right music. Unfortunately, we don't. These are all very, 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 very amazing people, and they're going to compete against each other. Actually, it's going to be a 2-on-2 tag team action. We have 10 trivia questions, and they're going to face one another. Ladies and gentlemen, from the East Coast, man of ESPN, of TV, you know him, one of the best presenters in the history of fantasy baseball, Mr. Derek Carty. We'll grab 2 more chairs here, too, in a second. All right. Oh, well, there's a spoiler. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, the beer king, the sandwich king, Saris.
I think we're on a team together. Are we?
Yeah. There we go. There's the Price is Right music. Next. This is the man from Austin, Texas. Created the Streaminator. He is the man who put the Q in quant, the quant in quantitative. Ladies and gentlemen, Rudy Gamble. There we go. And
Ooh, you did the long way.
we saved. Oh, this way.
Sit over here.
The best for last. Ladies and gentlemen, the author, co-author of The Process, he is bringing visors back. Ladies and gentlemen, from Fangraphs, from every site you've ever read, Jeff Zimmerman.
I'm leaning on you.
All right. All right. Before we get started, just anything you want to say to our audience. Let's start with you, Jeff. Just anything that you want to say.
Come to First Pitch Arizona. It's a blast.
All right, Rudy.
Yeah. I got nothing.
You got
I
nothing.
don't have anything until January.
All right.
Baseball, so.
I kind of want to rip my shirt off like Hulk Hogan and do like some sort of intimidation thing, but I think I'm going to pace myself.
All right.
I'm just going to echo Jeff and say, for anybody who's listening to this who isn't here, it's the best bar scene ever.
So we've got 10 questions here coming up. Toby's going to kick things off. Just so that you guys know, you guys are a team. Jeff and Rudy, Eno and Derek are a team. You guys are competing, 2-on-2. But take your time with your answer. Not too long, since we are a live podcast. Because if you get a wrong answer, you get a negative point. And our
Merits.
famous colleague, the mouth of the South, the mouth of the North, Michael Govier. He's our scorekeeper. So hope you know how to count. All right. There we go. All right.
If you choose not to answer, is it 0 points or is it negative?
We gotta get to the answer.
You got to get an answer.
All right, good. I wasn't sure. I didn't know the rules.
Or you can take your time on the answer. You can punt. Whoever.
This is a quant
The
thing.
first stage of any fantasy is know the rules.
I double dare.
All right, Toby, you got the first question for you.
All right. So, question number 1. Which of these relief pitchers did not finish top 5 at their position in 5x5 roto value? A.
Oh, do the hammer like this.
Alexis Diaz.
Oh, wait, we're supposed to do that.
You
B.
want to beat each other to that answer?
Yeah.
Emmanuel Clase. C. David Bednar. Or D. Camilo Duvall.
Derek,
A.
that's -1.
Damn it.
Who was it?
Alexis
we're
Diaz.
going to go with B.
Ding, 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 ding.
Correct.
Really?
Who was it?
Trick question. He just
Emmanuel
got 6th on your
Clase.
player rater.
Yeah.
Is the
Just
answer.
because of the lack of strikeouts. Very weird season for Emmanuel Clase.
He had a bad ratios too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Luke
It wasn't a good season.
All right, next one. 2-part question. You guys probably know this, but you get 2 points for each of these. The first one is, which 2 teams are tied for the lead in stolen bases? Just, team stolen bases since 2021.
Oh,
2 teams.
damn.
In
Well, I'm just
AAA.
I'm gonna go.
Which AAA teams?
I'm gonna go with the the Baltimore Orioles and the Arizona Diamondbacks.
You got 1. You got 0 because 1 is correct, Arizona, and the other one isn't Baltimore. So that evens out to 0 points.
They led this year, I think.
Can we get the full
What's that?
question? Since they was it?
Oh,
Which 2 teams are tied? They have the same
Well,
amount.
unfair. Now they know one of them. You can only get 1 point.
You only get one. Yeah. These 2 teams each had 270 stolen bases since 2021, and Eno named one of them.
Country of origin?
AL. Let's give you that. Oh shit. All right, I owe you one.
Yeah.
The
confident enough
the
to guess.
Cleveland franchise.
That is correct.
What was it?
Cleveland.
Yeah.
Because they stole more bases over the longer period.
But nobody gets negative because that was.
Yeah. No negatives. Yeah. Oh.
That's some grade A heckling.
Magic.
first of
Oh,
all,
he sleeps with
for
one.
those of you who are watching this from home, you're very lucky. There are some hecklers in the background. The first one says Toby sleeps with his projections, which is true, but still, I feel That's not okay. And then the second one said Vlad gets his fab advice from a magic 8-ball. Wow.
The good thing is I only have 2 numbers on my 8-ball, and it's 69 and 420. So. All right. Second part of that question, you get 2 points, is which 2 teams since 2021 are last in stolen bases? They both have the same amount.
Yeah, I think you're right. Here's the other one.
Could we just guess one?
Sure. Just get the points.
Giants.
Correct.
2 points.
Oh, one for them, then one for the other one.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
We're gonna go with the Twins.
No. Damn. Close.
That was a very bad guess. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, it was a good guess. It was good.
That was a
They're
great
close.
guess. You guys did
I
wonderful.
thought
They don't steal.
stolen bases minus like top IL.
Right? Mine's IL days.
So
When you need a clue, let us know. We can do that.
I mean, Judge had the 20 stolen base here. Like,
or can they
could-
pass if they don't want
We
it?
could, if they pass, we do an audience answer. Whoever wants to guess it. Let's pass. Who's got it? No. It's the other team tied with San Francisco for the least amount of steals since 2021. Yes. Correct. The Rockies. Good job, Justin Mason.
Wow, Justin enters the lead.
Right.
Were we number 3
yeah.
with the Twins? I knew they were down there before.
They're bottom 4 in the
Yeah,
last.
that's-
Yeah.
Not too bad then.
I knew they were bottom 1 year.
Can we get a quick score check, Mr. Govier?
Well, it's a little convoluted, but the way I see it right now, it's 1 all. 1 all.
What all? All right. All right.
Wow.
Toby, question 3.
This is a highly competitive match, Vlad. Name the only 2 hitters in 2023 who hit at least 30 home runs but did not record a steal.
That's a good one.
At least 30 home runs but did not record a steal.
We're gonna try one guess.
Okay.
Jordan Alvarez.
No.
Do we have to? Oh, we have to give them.
You have to give him a guess.
Pass. These are hard questions. I know. Random.
What's that?
That's why.
We could. I mean, he might have gotten 1 or 2. I feel like he's stolen base.
I know that.
People who are on their iPhones on Fangraphs in the audience are very confident
Jorge Soler.
in
not
the answer.
not Soler.
Oh.
No. So that's. I think they're both. Both teams at 0. Okay.
It's a minus.
It's minus for that.
We're
Yeah.
both minus.
All right. Yes. Not Schwarber.
He steals bases.
What's it, Alonzo?
Yeah, it's stolen bases.
Alonzo?
Well, you should know, my friend. You can say it.
Big dumper.
Cal Raleigh is one,
Cal Raleigh.
and another one's on the Braves.
Back on the dumper.
Oh, that's
Good one, John Malkovich.
And Marcelo Zuna, 40 home runs, no stolen bases.
We didn't bring him up. Either one.
good thing.
Yeah, we
All right.
So Jordan has a steal, or he didn't have?
You only
30?
get 29.
I don't think he hit
home runs.
30.
Was he-
Oh, maybe
was he out too long to get the
we'll do a count in between because maybe I didn't unclick off qualified and then maybe the question is wrong and maybe you're right.
Someone
It's very
check that for
possible.
us.
Yeah,
We need to-
let's do it. We need a fact check.
Do
Did
it.
Oh,
Schwarber or Jordan
Uh-oh.
hit over 30 and
It
not
was
get
Schwarber.
a steal?
Schwarber had 47 and 0 steals.
Give them their point. My bad.
got
Well, I think the Schwarber guess from moves back there. All right, Bubba got that one correct.
Well done.
Bubba got that one correct.
He's ahead. Bubba's ahead.
How about Jordan? Anybody got a ruling on Jordan? He stole base.
Jordan is right.
Jordan is
Hey,
right.
yeah.
Jordan is right.
Give a point to Eno and Derek.
No, 2-1. We're in the lead.
Let's go.
Let's go.
What's that?
You guys gonna
No, because he got Schwarber.
We're
Yeah,
just
they
at
got
2
one.
points. We're not at 0 points. We're at 2 points.
you guys gonna model underwear if you guys win? Or?
Hell
We're
yeah.
at 2.
You're ripping these
I
babies
could
right
name your
off.
team, model
Snap
underwear
off
team.
pants.
Next
Well, I actually took my
question.
socks off. They're not that comfortable.
Which of these hitters did not have a strikeout rate over 30% over the last 3 seasons? So which of these 4 hitters did not have a strikeout over 30% since 2021? Patrick Wisdom, Kyle Schwarber, Martin Maldonado, or Chris Taylor?
Taylor.
No, he was the
Maldonado.
No.
Oh, good.
Get you in
Wow.
It's got to be a trick question.
What's that?
Schwarber.
Well, hit it. And you get
No,
the
well, I
point.
mean, we already
We have
got
one
one.
more
Oh,
guess.
you
We
get
have
it.
another guess?
Yeah.
All right, Schwarber.
Schwarber.
Oh, they get it? Okay.
No.
No? Doesn't go? No? Okay.
I think it does.
I don't think
I
he
probably
does.
should have done the.
It's 2 players.
They lost a point. I thought they already guessed the first time. That's
Well, we just stay at 0. We lost a point and we gained a point.
Yeah, because you get until we get the question.
Oh, sorry,
So you can
okay.
hit.
We could like.
You guys could still. They could still.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
but our
can
answers
still.
are wrong.
So
The last one is wrong.
so all three.
You never know.
Wisdom, Maldonado, and Taylor all had a strikeout rate over 30%. Kyle Schwarber's at 29.1. The leader over that time,
29.1.
Joey Gallo, 38.1, and Patrick Wisdom was at 37%.
Yeah, it was not past.
Definitely not. All right.
All right. Question number 5, which, if you ask me, is an incredibly good question. Name one of the 2 qualified starting pitchers who ranked at the top in K- walk in the second half of this season. The top 2 qualified starting pitchers who ranked at the top in K- walk in the second half. I should just say pitchers because they're qualified, so they've met the innings threshold.
He banged.
Okay.
I think.
Sonny Gray?
Damn it.
And if you can name both, if you get both, you get both points.
If you can name both, you are an absolute legend.
5 points. If you name both.
You win automatically.
One was not a starter the whole year. And the other one had shoulder injuries the previous year, but gets a lot of Ks.
All right, I got one. Freddie Peralta?
Yes.
Yes, Freddie Peralta led the league in the second half in K- walk,
with that new slider.
30.8%.
The changing slider, changing mix a little bit.
Someone wants to go for the second one. That was not a.
I was
Like
was
we
it
had
2
2,
or 3?
and then you gave us 2 clues, and they totally killed both of our answers. So we're like, oh, we don't know now.
We've got one more.
Shoulder injury.
I
and
mean, you
wasn't
guys,
reliever.
That was the
you guys
Peralta
can
one.
weigh in again if you want to.
A relief.
Oh,
Was
the
a
other guy.
reliever.
Oh, was that both clues for?
No, the other guy was not a starting pitcher all year. He did some relief work, some middle
Reagan.
relief.
We have
Look
another
at
guess?
just get the points. You got it.
Reagan's.
No.
That is incorrect.
Just do it if you like. Do we have a guess?
All right, I got
Do we have a guess?
Michael
That's
King.
a third guess.
Michael King, no.
No, my God,
that
this
was bad.
this is an incredibly good question.
But near that, maybe a couple hours from there, an hour.
We ended up -1 on that one. 3 guesses.
We can still dig out of the hole.
Another guess. Let's throw another guess.
It is not Tariq Skubal either. You
It's
guys.
not- we'll go Nick
They gotta
Pivetta.
Nick
Nick
Pivetta.
Pivetta! Holy cow! 28.8%. The lack of respect for Nick Pivetta in
Are
this
we
room
tied
is
up again?
absolutely astounding.
Score count, please.
At this time, it's currently Derek Kahino 0, Jeff -2.
We're gonna win with 0.
All right. A few more questions here.
You guys suck.
In the same 3-year span, the last 3 years, there are 4 hitters with a K rate under 11%. Luis Arias, as most know, is the lowest, 7.4. Stephen Kwan's next lowest at 10%. The other 2 are teammates in the AL. No, I'm sorry. They're not teammates. They play the same position. And it's not a very popular position. Only 4 guys under 10%.
It's not a popular position.
It's a red herring. Don't listen to that part. Just think about K rates. You gotta know it. Wait, since it's an over 3
Last 3
years?
years, qualified, K percentage under 10%.
I know the low K guys. Who is it?
I assume there's a qualifier, like,
How many plate
yeah,
appearances?
plate appearances.
Second baseman.
Yeah.
He's
Oh,
on 10.
thought I had one.
Yeah, I think
thought-
you guys are both.
'Cause I can think of
Yeah.
one, but he probably doesn't qualify.
How many plate appearances?
Yeah, how many plate appearances to be on this list?
I forgot. I think I did underqualified.
I mean-
I did underqualified.
You did qualified
Yeah,
hitters.
I'm
Okay,
pretty sure I did.
qualified hitters. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, maybe.
So it can't be a guy who played in one of the seasons.
Well,
Yeah.
Could it be a guy who played in one of the 3 seasons?
in the last 2 seasons, they've both, for sure, been been qualified.
All right, so then it's not who I'm thinking of.
And to speed it up, they were both catchers.
Ew. That's right. It's not a popular position.
Was not a red herring.
The tension in this room is palpable. This is unbelievable.
One plays on a really bad team. I keep throwing clues or no?
Yeah, maybe. He's got 'em
DVR has them both.
both. Oh, we gotta guess.
All right.
Adley Rushman.
No.
Nope.
Yes, we're still
minus
we're by
3.
3. Don't guess.
Sandbag.
You got him going.
ride it out to
DVR
the
knows
end.
both
All right,
of them. Should
what
we
are
go
they?
to DVR? Should we go to DVR?
Yeah.
If you guys are
Does
good with
DVR
it.
both?
Alejandro Kirk and Keibert Ruiz.
Yeah! No, and then I took it back and I said, I'm sorry, they're both catchers.
You
My
took back
bad.
teammates. I thought
Yeah, I fucked up. But nobody got points, so.
Kirk, we should have.
All right. Settle down here. This is our first time running a trivia game. All right, people, give us a little slack
I
here.
love it. -1 beats -4.
we're at 0 still. Come on.
All right, 0.
Give us more credit.
Oh man. Okay.
Honestly, DVR is beating both teams.
We're actually gonna.
Second, right?
Can we do like a WRC plus related metric that's always like, in the positives here? Yeah. Right. There are question 7. There are 3 hitters with over 550 RBI since the 2018 season. It should be easy to guess that Matt Olson and Freddie Freeman are 2 of them.
Okay.
But who is the third? A. Jose Abreu. B. Nolan Arenado. C. Jose Ramirez. Or D. Manny Machado. So we're looking for somebody with over 550 RBI. Yes.
No.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding.
That's what.
All right. Here we go.
We
Catching
just
up.
suck.
Jose Ramirez is too high in the order. Abreu kind of sucks.
He's actually, so
He
it's,
probably has like 480 or something.
Arenado has 555. Abreu and Ramirez are tied at 543, and Machado has
He
538.
just did the next. He did like the 4 names right there. Wow.
All right.
Jeff, you guys really need this question. This is a 4-pointer. So.
4-point question.
4-point question.
4-point question. It's a bomber.
Or we could really take.
Wait, did they lose 4 points though?
Wait.
I think no.
I
losing
feel like that's
points.
mean
No?
at this
Is
point.
that-
We're already
Yeah.
down. We're both negative.
I want to win 1 to -10.
Okay, all right. Okay, here we
We're
go.
close to 1.
Here's a 4-point
one.
question.
I thought you guys were negative.
Oh, they
one.
didn't
No, we
guess
got
at
one.
all.
Oh, we're in the positives.
We got 1 whole point.
In September of 2023, there was only one hitter besides Ronald Acuna, just for the month of September, who had at least 20 RBI, at least 12 stolen bases, and at least a 300 average. Actually, over 340, both of them. Who is that man?
You think so?
And why does his ADP climb so high?
Oh, is it? I'm not gonna guess it. But
I want to guess Witt.
No. It's after you guess, I might.
I don't think
Get
we're
it
gonna
wrong.
guess. We don't
No.
want to lose 4 points. We are stupid.
This is one. This is one.
Still have a healthy lead.
Is it a stupid young guy?
you make
Like
it-
Yes.
Royce
DVR,
Lewis
do you
or
know the
somebody
answer
dumb
again?
Like that?
It is a stupid young guy.
Yeah, of course it
It
is.
wasn't the guy you just said, was it?
No.
I was going to laugh so hard.
No.
Earlier.
But he.
Do you guys want to try again? I mean, you guys could go like for -10.
Someone's got it? You're right.
Nolan Jones.
Tough one. It's a tough question.
Follow-up question. Who had the highest batting average with runners in scoring position this year?
Who led the league in RBIs?
Useless stat. I love it.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Nolan Jones! Oh, ladies and
point.
gentlemen. Very repeatable skill. Batting average and RBI. I know I'm with my people because I can crack a joke like that, and people will laugh at it. All
I
right.
feel like we're streaming pictures at the end of the year with 2 start guys that just digging a hole deeper and deeper. Trying to get out.
Ready? Okay. This question. Okay, all but one hitter of the
How many
top.
points is this worth?
This one is just worth 1 point.
Okay, cool.
All but one hit. We should make it worth 5 for them and 1 for you guys. All right, let's make this close, everybody.
Yeah?
They get the initials of the player, and you guys.
Whoever, one of you, if you get the question, then it goes to a tie for question 10, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
Love it.
All but one hitter of the top 29 barrel rate leaders did not hit at least 20 homers. Who is that player? All but one hitter of the
list. I
top
was waiting for a
29 barrel rate leaders did not hit at least 20 homers. Who is that player? And they were second in the league in barrel rate.
I don't know if he was that high. But that's a good. Yeah.
They hit over 20 homers.
I know.
Yeah, it's qualified. It's qualified hitters here. We're talking about qualified hitters. This is per batted ball event. Per batted ball event. Thank you for the clarification,
If you don't have
Mr.
one,
DiPietro.
thinking, I have a really off the. Is it off the wall?
He hits the ball really hard, always has. What?
There was a really good joke in the back for everybody watching. Who said it? Bubba. Bubba with the good joke. Not surprising if you know Bubba. Did you guys want to guess? I suggest you guess. Because you guys need the points.
Hi, dude. You got to get back in this.
Swing away,
Who do you have?
I was gonna guess my best guess was Ty France.
Ty France
He's not a barrel
is
guy.
not the answer.
See, mine was MJ Melendez, but you said he was.
MJ Melendez is not the answer. Second in all of Major League Baseball in in barrel rate.
Used to play on the A's.
17.1%.
Joe knew it. Joe back here knew it.
Chapman.
Matt
Chapman.
Chapman.
20 home runs?
Yeah,
No,
17.
he had 17.
My guess was
Well,
Tommy Pham, but
his all of his exit velocity stuff's off the charts this
Yeah.
last year.
All right,
Dear
so
Matt Chapman, do not hit the ball to dead
All right,
center.
Govier.
So we got -1,
Who
-1, and
going
5.
into the 10th? Govier, going into question 10, who is currently in the lead?
It is Derek and Eno with 1 point.
Let's hear some claps.
This
So-
question is worth 40. All right?
No, actually, as everybody knows, you can't just have a tag team quad champion, right? So now we turn the two against each other to declare one champion for this final question. Whoever gets this wins it all.
We can take a break. Some bourbon.
All right. For the first time in NFBC history, at least that I know of, there's a player, actually 2 players, that have 5 positions of eligibility. You can just guess one of them, and you are the quant champ. One of them has an ADP within the top 300, and the other one's like in the 600s. There's a lot of them this year with 4 positions of eligibility, but there are only 2 with 5.
Is it going into this year or they had it this last year?
They're getting it for this year, for 2024.
Oh, so they got
They got it this
20.
year.
Oh.
They got it in 2023.
They got 20 games.
Some of them they actually had 3 going into this season, and now they have 5.
Just to clarify, one of them is in the top 475, and one is around 650.
One of them's a former Dodgers hero.
all right.
Oh, there you go.
Is it Chris Taylor?
No, he's got 4 this year.
-1 to 0. I win.
You get one guess?
I cannot think of anyone.
Hey,
that I
can
think
we
is
jump in?
plausible.
Yeah, we're
You
gonna go.
can become the
We're
quad
gonna go
champ.
with the 2. We're gonna go with
If you guys get both of them, you win. If you
Yeah.
guys get both of them, you win.
Enrique Hernandez.
Yes.
Yes.
Gabriel Arias.
So close. You're right. Enrique Hernandez is one of them. He's the one in the top. The other one? What?
He was with them this year. He's not a former Dodger.
I said, but then back. Yeah. And the other one Aledmus Diaz.
Aledmus Diaz.
Everything, Phil, for a second. So, ladies and gentlemen, your co-quant trivia champions,
All of us.
Derek, Eno, Rudy, and Jeff.
It's actually DVR. Congratulations, DVR. You answered one question. Sorry for everybody who's listening to this. I'm yelling into the microphone incredibly loudly.
So thank you, everybody. On behalf of everyone here on stage, of course, Toby, my wonderful partner in crime today, thank you for stepping in. For the team at FTN, Maddie Wood, Adam Young, Todd Whitestone, Eric Cross, Michael Govier, thank you so much. This is the FTN Fantasy Baseball Podcast, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, let's go.
Send it to Vlad. Send it to Vlad. Yeah. Sure.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Nice job.
Thank you. That was fun. I mean, we're interested. It's fun. It's what we talk about.
And everybody was into it. Everybody was into it. Yeah.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
How you doing?
That was great. I love it. It's better. I was worried about that than the honking thing.
Didn't want to get people on the event, you know.